stole his first term as president. These absolute liars who run around trying to act like they're the protectors of democracy completely ruined it, tried to undermine it at every turn and at the highest levels with lies, with out and out lies that were really serious, and changed foreign policy and changed the course of history in this country in Trump's presidency. And there must be accountability. There has to be actual criminal accountability for those who lied. And I can't wait to see.
Megyn Kelly didn't just take aim at Barack Obama. She stripped away the glossy veneer like peeling paint off an old facade. With surgical precision and a knack for exposing political stagecraft, she turned his celebrated legacy into a case study of squandered chances, oversized ego, and a media so starstruck it forgot to ask hard questions. This wasn't a friendly critique. It was a controlled demolition, myth by myth, talking point by talking point, until all that remained were uncomfortable truths and political rubble.
One presidential daily brief that was about to go to Obama in December of 2016 saying, the Russians, they didn't succeed in interfering in any meaningful way in our election. They did not hack voting machines, and it was going to downplay Russian interference. And then they stopped the presses. Obama interfered and said, hold on. And there was a memo saying, per the president's directive, and they're going in a new direction. Lo and behold, what happened next was we're going to do a new assessment and we're going to see what Russian interference was. Immediately, the media started reporting it was huge. They interfered.
Obama's presidency played out like a prestige TV drama, a dazzling pilot, smooth dialogue, and then a finale that made you wonder if the writers quit halfway through season 2. Kelly didn't need to dig for dirt. His record was a treasure chest of plot twists, gaffes, and awkward rewrites. He sold himself as the unshakable savior of American politics, but behind the cinematic speeches and sweeping drone shots, the story was less hero's journey and more over-budget Netflix series that forgot its own plot.
Andy and others are zeroing in on the notion that before they sat with Obama, they were going to tell him no attempts to hack our election infrastructure. And Andy will later argue them later coming out and saying, but lots of attempts to interfere in the election in general and totally to help Donald Trump.
He rode into the White House on a tidal wave of hope big enough to power California for a decade. America expected a political revolution. Instead, it got a masterclass in marketing. Heavy on slogans, light on substance. It was like ordering a 5-star steak dinner and being served a kale smoothie. Technically food, but not what you signed up for. And Kelly had no trouble showing how the polished image masked a presidency mired in the same political gridlock and backroom sludge as the ones before it.
Not do at least one clip from the Barack Michelle Obama appearance, the podcast, because everybody thinks they're getting a divorce. And let's face it, they probably are. She dragged him onto her show with brother Craig, and the following took place. Here's how it started in SOT 36.
Barack Obama, can you join us on
Come
our
on
set?
out here, brother.
Welcome
man.
to IMO. Look at you.
The Affordable Care Act, Obama's signature achievement. On paper, it was the policy equivalent of a warm hug, affordable health coverage for everyone. In practice, it was more like getting hugged by someone who spills scalding coffee on you and then asks for a tip. Millions were left trapped in a maze of glitchy websites, confusing penalties, and rising premiums, all while being told this was a triumph of modern governance. The rollout of healthcare at Gov was so riddled with bugs it could have passed for a slapstick comedy, except the punchline was billions.
That day 10 years ago, what I think binds it together, all these different strands, case upholding healthcare, a case declaring same-sex marriage part of our constitutional protections, of mourning. I think what pulls it all together is that no one person did any of that.
So he's sitting around on a June Thursday thinking about himself. And
then came foreign policy, the part of the show where Obama cast himself as the reluctant warrior, the champion of diplomacy over conflict. Yet somehow, the drone program exploded under his watch, turning stretches of the Middle East into something that looked suspiciously like a live-action video game. The administration talked endlessly about precision strikes and surgical operations, but to civilians on the ground, the reality was far messier. Megyn Kelly would torch the irony, a Nobel Peace Prize winner presiding over a military playbook with a higher body count than some of the leaders he condemned.
Out there by Brennan at Obama's direction, and we're seeing what Brennan used to push the lie. One was Steele dossier, which this points out as it fell apart, and the guy went to him, CIA analyst, to say, it's fallen apart. We can't use this. He said, yes, but...
His handling of Syria? A masterclass in hesitation. He drew a bold red line over chemical weapons use, then let that line fade, smudge, and eventually vanish like disappearing ink. The message to the world was clear. Under his leadership, America's word was negotiable. It was a choose-your-own-adventure style of diplomacy that baffled allies and emboldened adversaries. Meanwhile, Russia strolled into Crimea, and the Obama administration responded with sanctions so weak they could have doubled as passive-aggressive greeting cards. On the home front, his economic record was a political Rorschach test. Supporters saw a slow, steady climb from the wreckage of 2008. Critics saw stagnant wages, ballooning debt, and a Federal Reserve printing cash like it was hosting a never-ending Monopoly night. The irony? The man who promised unity and change may have unknowingly set the stage for one of the most divisive political eras in modern history.
Add it all up, even the year, if the odds were you're going to be married to your partner for 50 years and 10 of those years could be bad, you'd
sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
Right. And that's really how it works out.
Is it, Michelle? It's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years, and not one was bad. I think she and he married.
And let's not forget the surveillance state.
And then there's the surveillance state. You'd think a constitutional lawyer might hesitate before expanding government spying programs, but under Obama, the NSA bulked up like it had just discovered steroids. Edward Snowden's leaks exposed just how comfortable the administration had become with scooping up data on American citizens, all under the reassuring banner of "it's for your own good." Megyn Kelly would have a field day with the hypocrisy. The man who preached transparency ran one of the most secretive administrations in decades, cracking down on whistleblowers with a zeal that made some predecessors look merciful. And then there was the celebrity factor. Obama relished the spotlight, late-night talk shows, March Madness brackets, viral skits. Megyn could have filled a whole monologue on how he seemed more at ease roasting opponents at the White House Correspondents' Dinner than hammering out bipartisan deals.
To help Trump and get Trump elected was a political hit job that they then leaked to the media immediately, as you pointed out the other day, that before the homework assignment was even completed. In other words, Obama said, go back and change your report. They had leaked to the media what the conclusion of it would be.
His much-celebrated diplomacy had some glaring blind spots. The Iran nuclear deal was sold as a negotiation triumph, but critics called it a short-term patch that handed Tehran legitimacy without fixing the underlying issues. Cuba's diplomatic thaw made for great photo ops, but left big questions about what America actually got in return. In both cases, the optics were flawless, the substance questionable. Classic Obama. Speeches that soared while the policy changes often limped. Megyn could slice through that contradiction. How a man so gifted at addressing the nation struggled to bridge its divides. And through it all, the media often treated him like a political unicorn, immune to the kind of relentless scrutiny others faced. Scandals like the IRS targeting controversy, the VA hospital nightmare, and Benghazi made headlines, but rarely stuck to him the way they would have to a less media-savvy president.
I decided to drop a post on X today, and I thought, okay, maybe in the wake of the Pete Hegseth presser, he's going to say something like, no matter how you feel about the Iranian strike, hats off to our, boys in blue, our guys in the bombers. He went a different way. This is what it was.
Curious how you're thinking about this eulogy specifically in the moment and all the tensions that you just brought out.
I didn't even want to talk. I was so mad. Part of the reason I think I ended up having anything to say at that moment was when I heard some of the victims' families forgive the shooter. And I thought, all right, let's see if maybe this is.
When it came to deflecting criticism, Obama was in a league of his own. He could pivot from a hard question to a charming anecdote faster than most people could say, change we can believe in. By the time he left office, the gap between his campaign's soaring promises and the messy reality of his governance was impossible to ignore. His supporters remember the hope and historic symbolism. His critics remember the contradictions and missed opportunities. The Obama presidency was, in many ways, a masterclass in branding, a carefully choreographed production that kept audiences enthralled even when the script was unraveling. And like any polished performance, it ended with a star taking a bow, confident the applause meant victory, even as half the audience shuffled out wondering exactly what they'd won.
Meeting was held. It was called and held, including all of Obama's top people, all of them. And they had a big meeting on this. And the next day, things changed dramatically on the Russia narrative, and changed in a way that would support the Russia allegations that would go on to undermine the entire first term.
Barack Obama's political legacy is a paradox. The man who inspired Americans to believe in sweeping change delivered minor adjustments. The man who vowed to heal divisions left the nation even more fractured. And the man who campaigned against endless war quietly became one of its most reliable custodians. This is a legacy that doesn't just invite analysis. It begs for a roast. One that strips away the polish and lets the contradictions gleam in all their awkward glory. And judging by the mountain of material still untouched, this roast is far from over. Post-presidency, Obama's brand has been less about statesmanship and more about perfecting the art of self-promotion under the banner of public service. Every time he takes the stage, he carries himself as if the world is holding its breath for his next big policy revelation. In reality, it's just another perfectly packaged story, complete with dramatic pauses, built to keep his audience hooked.
On the fire that there's a potential, maybe a divorce or some sort of rockiness going on in the Obamas relationship. They both posted these mirrored, very choreographed Valentine's Day messages on X, but he was just seen at an LA, the basketball team. What's it called? I can't remember the name. The Clippers. Thank you. Game without her. And, the LA Clippers. And then with Steve Ballmer, who's the owner, who he's been on this show. And then on Tuesday, he was spotted eating out at a fancy dinner in Sherman Oaks with both daughters, Malia and Sasha. But again,
his carefully curated public persona is so polished it's lost any trace of authenticity. This isn't a leader wrestling with the complexities of governance. It's a brand ambassador selling a lifestyle. He's mastered the influencer formula. A pinch of moral outrage, a sprinkle of inspirational buzzwords, and a photogenic backdrop for the result? A career that feels less like statesmanship and more like a global lifestyle blog. Domestically, his signature achievements are a patchwork of compromises that satisfied no one completely, yet are still sold as historic victories. It's the political equivalent of a fast food sandwich, heavily advertised, mildly satisfying, and gone before you know it. And the irony? His public commentary now often criticizes government dysfunction, as if he wasn't one of the starring roles in that very drama for 8 years.
Pretend all they want that it's just tabloid fodder that has led people to think they're on the outs. That oh yes, he appeared without her, here or there, and people, no. Okay, first of all, she didn't go to the Trump inauguration. She didn't go to the Jimmy Carter funeral. He's been spotted out at basketball games and out to dinner with their daughters repeatedly without her. You'd be hard.
He talks about division as if he were a bystander, sidestepping the fact that his own presidency deepened the trenches. It's a clever act. Play the wise elder while pretending the mess has nothing to do with you. And the media laps it up, treating every word like prophecy from a mountaintop. But the most enduring feature of the Obama brand is how it feeds on selective memory. Supporters are nudged to recall the speeches, the charisma, the magazine covers. but not the letdowns. It's nostalgia dressed up as marketing, where every flaw is reframed as a lesson and every failure repackaged as an unavoidable reality. In the process, he's become untouchable to his base, a myth more than a man. And when you strip away the imagery, what remains is a record built on half measures, safe choices, and a knack for keeping just enough distance to dodge the blame.